predictability. The milkman, the paper boy, evening TV. Did I get delivered here? Somebody tell me, please. This whole world's confusing me. Clouds as mean as you've ever seen. Ain't a bird who knows you're true. Then a little voice inside you whisper, don't sell your dreams so soon. Everywhere you look, everywhere there's a heart, a hand to hold on to. Everywhere you look, everywhere there's a place of somebody who needs you. Everywhere you look, when you're lost out there and you're all alone, life is waiting to carry you home. Everywhere you look, everywhere you
Okay, so you're officially inducted into the IB program. Thank you very much, and congratulations to all of you.
If I was up on stage with you guys in person, which was first of all to ask Tommy to take his hoodie off and take his earbuds out, and then also remind Ben Nisbet to be careful not to break the chair that he was sitting in at the banquet tonight, like he broke the one in my classroom. So hope you guys enjoy your evening on this Zoom.
Who was the most inspiring teacher you had?
I'd probably have to say Mr. Platt, just because he made me feel like I wasn't doing anything with my life and motivated me to get stuff done.
I'd say Mr. Gufford because he was always there for us and believed in us and pushed us to be our best, which was something that I always admired.
I know the most inspiring teacher is Mr. Gufford.
I would say Mr. Gufford.
Oh, Mr. Gufford.
I had to say Mr. Gufford. Pretty sure he's yes, for sure.
I'm definitely going to go with Dr. Nicholas Stute. Just one of the best teachers that I had. He did not care what people thought of him. He just went about his day, getting through each day, doing whatever he could to just make that day, just survive that day. And I think that's what I'm trying to be like. Also, Mr. Gufford and Mr. Blackburn. Mr. Gufford was just so happy all the time, encouraging his students, making us feel like we could do anything regardless of how difficult it was. And I think that mindset that Mr. Gufford has actually helps us, or is going to stick with us and help us for the rest of our lives.
Enviro is the one class where I didn't, even after taking the exam, even after the class and stuff, I still remember a lot of the things that I learned.
100% the film teacher, Mr. Kuiper, because he does so much extra work so students can have new learning experiences. Every morning, he helps us run the school news and assigns us a new job every week so we can learn every aspect of a live news studio. He always stays late and helps us with equipment or gives us advice after every project and new ideas for techniques we can use with the cameras. He helps us apply for film festivals, just constantly going out of his way to help the students.
Definitely Ms. Delaney, because she's a mother and she had to take on that the challenge of taking in all Mr. Nelson's kids, and I just really took that challenge and ran with it, and she's just an overall amazing lady.
Mr. Goldstone was definitely the most inspiring. I love him. I love that man. He was so nice to me. He really taught me the basics of economics, which is my favorite subject. He was always there for me when I needed him. So I love you, Mr. Goldstone. Love you.
One word to describe our class and why. I'd say it's gonna be iconic, because nobody's gonna forget the class of 2020, okay? We literally left for spring break and we just never came back. And we missed out on all the traditional senior things like senior prom, senior pranks, grad bash, at this rate probably graduation. So yeah, iconic.
Our class is really unique because obviously we're in this whole situation, but we all are coming out stronger than ever. We are all so different in our own ways, but we bring out the best in each other. So I really think our class is extremely unique compared to all the other classes.
Probably interesting, since I think even all of us are really hardworking and smart, and then we all have a shared sentiment of just not caring at all.
One word would be empowered, because we're all focused and motivated and driven, even though we all have different interests and passions, and I know that's why we're all going to accomplish our goals.
I would say dysfunctional. Yeah, dysfunctional.
I would definitely say resilient. I feel like our class has been through a lot this year. And all through the 4 years, we've been able to adapt all the changes though, like changing the dress code to wearing polos and uniforms and having to deal with all the school shootings and the bombings going on, and now dealing with the virus. And I feel like we always come back.
Diligent, but in our own leisurely way.
Resilient, because we've been through a lot in the 4 years that we've been at Creek, but especially this year it shows how we can get through anything and still succeed.
I think we're hardworking, and I think a lot of people are really caring and empathetic, but I think mostly we're all just really stupid with a lot of things.
Elite, solely because we're a combination of a lot of things. Like we're smart, everybody in 2020 class, where most of us are athletic. We have both student athletes. We actually like push that memo a lot, like being a student athlete and maintaining like, you know, good GPAs or good grades as well. And I just feel like we're just a full package. Like, it is what it is.
What comes to mind when I think of about 99% of us would be procrastination.
One word that I think I would use is survivors, and not only because of this pandemic that we're facing at the end of our graduating year. I would definitely say that we survived EE week, we survived the countless amount of IAs that we had to do, and y'all had to survive Survivor in 9th grade. And honestly, all of the IB exams and the stress, I think it was worth it.
What is your funniest memory at Spruce Creek High School? My funniest memory at Spruce Creek High School definitely has to be senior cross-dress day. I looked forward to that day every year. And it's really funny, especially when the band does their fashion show. So this is what happens. The band directors will stand on one side of the band room, and the seniors will be in the tuba room in the other room, on the other side of the classroom. And one by one, seniors will walk down the length of the classroom while the band directors play funny music and announce whoever's coming. And they always announce their name based on the gender. And it was always a really funny time to laugh at seniors, but like enjoy each other's company.
Miss Cooney's class, and we were doing a physics lab, and we had flying pigs on the ceiling, and I lost it the entire lab. And one almost hit me once. It flew off the ceiling. It was a good time.
Is this what's inspiring you to study physics in college?
Yes, just the flying pig.
Oh, probably, okay, sophomore year homecoming, I hit the folks so hard that the back of my dress literally ripped in half, and I had to have Dr. Sparger staple it back together.
In Mr. Gufford's class, when Sam accidentally cursed in one of the books we were reading, and the entire class flipped because he didn't know he did it.
I think mine would be in French class when we were on one of the lockdowns for a school shooter, and Kamari had to use the restroom and he couldn't go, so he peed in a Gatorade bottle in front of everyone.
Yesterday, when Daisy was complaining about her grade to Blackburn, and so he cut open a tissue box and tied it to his belt in case he needed to give her tissues quickly because she wouldn't stop complaining.
In Miss Delaney's class, when she would dance around, and when we were in Dr. Smiley's class, and we all looked up her address, and it was to a circus tent.
Josh, Zach, and I wrestling in French every day junior year.
But the best moment was probably when we did our bio presentation. It was really bad. Josh unplugged the projector. I got sent to the office. It was a real riot.
Mr. Blackburn would give like fashion reviews of some of the pictures, like the political figures that would show up on the PowerPoint, and he would like rate their jackets, their shoes, whatever, and he was never wrong.
Another one is freshman year. I tried to take food from Daisy, but she said no, so I thought it was a good idea to take her lunchbox and throw it at the ceiling, but it got stuck on the lights, so that was a minor problem.
I don't know, honestly, everything that happened was funny because we needed a sense of humor to cope with the amount of work we were given, so.
What is the best thing about being an IB? Again, I'm gonna have to say the friendships that you make and the teachers that you meet and the crazy diversity we have in the program. You meet so many new people, and you just get so many different perspectives on anything and everything. I find it so awesome.
Not to sound cheesy or anything, but if I truly looked at it, it was a really high quality education that I got. The teachers were great, most of them. The teachers I'm going to choose to remember were great. And you definitely built up stamina for time management skills. You know, as much as I didn't like high school, I will say that doing IB really makes me feel a lot more confident going into college.
There's students that, love certain things like SGA, others who love art, and I really like how there's just a huge variety of students in our class.
I feel like IB pushes your limits and expectations for one. So whenever you feel like you want to give up, that finish line is still waiting for you. Like, it's not going to move, and you get so close, and then you're just so like anxious just to finish and complete it. Know that all that anxiety just going away once you complete it, and you just feel like, wow, I completed 4 years of basically like college. Like, that's how it is. Like, the workload, even though it is heavy, workload is heavy. We get a lot of different things that we never heard about before. It's just a great like experience just to be in this program.
The best thing about being in IB is the heavy workload. Only because everybody already knows that IB has a heavy workload. So if there's a place or an event that I just don't want to go to, even if I don't have any homework that night, I can just be like, I'm tired, I'm stressed, and they'll believe me, and it just gives me a good excuse to get out of things.
What is the hardest project you had to complete? I've been waiting for this one. I'm glad you brought it up because Miss Duncan, that Twitter project that you gave us sophomore year, that template was so hard to work with. My project got deleted like 3 times. It left such a bad taste in my mouth. Like, talk about trauma.
The hardest project you had to complete, the Twitter project. No explanation needed. The Twitter project was the hardest project I had to complete.
Hey, Miss Duncan, love you. Miss Duncan, Twitter and Instagram project.
Those Twitter and Instagram projects took forever.
One that comes to mind, and I think it does for a lot of people, is the Twitter project for Miss Duncan. Sophomore year, that hit me like a bus.
Yeah, the hardest project I would say is probably the EE. I've never felt so much emotional destruction before that. Hopefully we won't have to do it again, right?
For me, the hardest project was the Chem HLAA because I could not do the calculations to save my life. So the day that it's due rolls around, and I'm asking every student, as an IB student does, asking everyone and like pleading for help to try to get this correct because otherwise I'm gonna fail the whole IA. And 7th period rolls around. I'm sitting in Guffer's classroom, about to fall over, faint, shrivel up and die because I'm gonna fail. And I kid you not, the gates of heaven open up and I hear the door open behind me and the king himself, Dr. Stute, walks in and all I hear is, oh, because the savior has arrived. And I look up and I'm like, Dr. Stute, please help me. So he comes over and he picks up my paper and he's like, oh, you just gotta insert smart words here because the whole thing just went whoop for me. But he's like, just come to my class after school and we can figure it out together. So I'm like, fantastic, thank you. So I go to his class, we figure out the whole thing. And at the end, I'm like, thank you so much. And he's like, oh, no problem. There was this teacher luncheon I was supposed to go to, but you're my perfect reason not to go.
What is the hardest thing about being an IB? I would definitely have to say just finding the motivation to be in class and keep doing all that work every single year. Like, once you get to senior year, you're burnt out. It's so hard to keep going, but you know that you have to. But like, oh my gosh, every day you know you have to go through 7 classes, all of IB, all so much work, and they all lead to so much homework and tests. It's a lot.
I would say the workload, but it helps not to do the work, so I don't really know.
The hardest thing about being an IB would be procrastinating, because even if it's the easiest thing, if it was just to color a page of a book, people would wait until 2 minutes before the class started or right when the teacher's collecting it to do it. The procrastination just really ran deep within the veins of our IB family.
To fake it till you make it when it comes to certain things like IAs or group discussions. I think 11th grade TOK really convinced me that nobody knew what they were talking about, and that if you just kept on talking, you would probably say something that at least sounded smart, hopefully.
If you could do IB again, would you? I would do IB again, but I would do it with a lot more sticky notes. Like pull a Katie Craft and do it with more sticky notes. I think I would have been way more successful.
I think I would, because I liked the challenge that IB had given us. The work was obviously a lot, and sometimes there's a lot to handle, but I think it's going to help us a lot in the future.
No, I don't think so. The friendships I've built over the last 4 years, one of a kind. But you definitely aren't going to catch me writing another extended essay, so we're going to have to go with a hard no on doing IB again.
I would. I don't know where I'd be or what I'd do without my IB student superiority complex.
I'd have to say no, because in order to do IB again, that means I'd have to go through high school, and I'll never go through high school again. I never want to remember high school, to be quite honest, after this. I don't like high school. So no, I'll never do IB again because I'll never want to do high school again, and yikes, yeah.
I wanted to take this opportunity with the IB class of 2020 to declare my candidacy for vice president with Kanye in the upcoming election. I hope that we'll have your vote when you guys are able to register to vote for November, okay? Thanks so much.
What is your favorite memory during an extracurricular activity? Obviously, theater was my life, so I'm really grateful for all the relationships that I built, but my favorite memory has to be like every time you walk in the auditorium, it was like you were home.
Marching, and I remember he tripped and he fell on his mellophone, and the bell of his mellophone folded up like a taco, and Mr. Dupuy made everyone stop. He pointed at Brendan Eisner, and he's like, hold up he asked him if he was okay, and then he told him to hold up his mellophone. He's like, hold that up, show everybody, and he was holding it up, and everyone just started laughing, even Mr. Dupuy.
My funniest extracurricular memory was Luminaries a couple years ago. And if you're not in band, selling Luminaries is when they give you this plastic bag full of extremely festive dollar store candles that you have to sell before you can go home. And so my group and I were walking around the neighborhood, skipping from house to house. We were all wearing festive hats. I was wearing this bright red Christmas fedora. And we were singing Christmas songs. So I decided to turn a Christmas song and like take the script of what we're supposed to say when we walk up to each house and turn it into a Christmas song. So I'm joking around singing it, and they're like, you need to go up to one of those houses and start singing that song because that would be hilarious. And I'm like, no, I can't do that by myself. So the four of us walk up to this huge mansion with this big black wrought iron gate, and these two Great Danes come rushing out at us barking, and I see my little 15-year-old life flash before my eyes. And this couple walks up to the gate, and I'm like, can we sing you a song? So we start singing our pathetic little By Our Luminaries song, which was iconic. And at the end, we finish, and our band mom with us was clapping for us, and the couple goes, not today. And so they just walk away. And we just stand there like, oh.
See Senior Sunrise, I think. I just really enjoyed being with everybody, whether they were in IB or not. That was my favorite part. Everybody was there with their own groups of friends, and then those groups kind of merged into one, and we all just enjoy each other's company, and I found that to be awesome.
This year, our pep rally, I enjoyed it. Being a part of the senior dance team as well. That wasn't easy, having to learn to dance and play football, and then me being able to be on the homecoming court and also winning homecoming queen. Oh my gosh, not homecoming queen, homecoming king. Oh my gosh. So having the time just to take that out, make sure it was enjoyable. Like I said, went out with another bang.
My favorite memory was probably senior night because I was in band. So when we were on the field finishing our halftime show, as soon as we played our last note, the fireworks went off, and I just remember putting my instrument down and looking up at the fireworks and just crying because it was the last show we were performing on the field, and I was there with my best friends in band and surrounded by people that were going through the same thing I was, and it was just a really surreal moment of like the end of a 4-year activity that I had been involved in.
Are you surprised some of us made it this far? I'm surprised I made it this far.
Yes, I am pretty surprised that some of us have made it this far, but we can't forget our fallen soldiers, those who were not able to make it this far. We have to give a moment of silence for them. So yeah.
Absolutely. I thought I was dropping first year, and I mean, R.I.P. Kelsey. He should be here right now. And, you know, other than that, just surprised that we all made it through with our sanity.
No. We do all have some serious issues with procrastination, but I think at the end of the day, we're all pretty smart and we're pretty hard workers, so I'm not that surprised we all made it this far.
What is your opinion on John Khalil or Sebastian Buhner?
They're both my dogs.
I love John. He's great. He's my buddy. King of being late, king of leaving at lunch. Like, nobody can take that title away from him. Sebastian Buhner, what is my opinion on him? He's so funny. I remember sophomore year, it was like 9 a.m. It was second period AP Econ, and I turn around and this man is peeing into a water bottle. I don't know why. I don't know what the reason was, but he just was. And Mr. Goldstone was just so nonchalant about it. He was just like, whatever. Like, someone come draw this graph on the board. Like, what?
My personal opinion, I feel John Khalil is the GOAT.
All I can say is that they're pretty inspiring because they're just living their best lives, you know. They don't have a care in the world. They're pretty much just free spirits, and I really appreciate that in people.
John deserved to get Scholar of the Month, and I think that he is, I mean, because he's not there, so like he is the most calming presence in the class every day.
Which teacher can you relate to most? In terms of work ethic and productivity, I would say Mr. Gufford. He's very driven, and I very much admire his ability to captivate students, and I really appreciate his time and effort he puts into his lesson plans, and he really gets people to pay attention in his class.
I feel like I definitely can relate to Senora Tolvo the most. I'd make it a point every day to talk to her about something that would spark interest in the class. And I feel like she was a really good teacher. One of the best Spanish teachers at Spruce Creek.
Probably Mr. Blackburn, because, you know, he's just trying to get through life, not bothered and just enjoying it, trying to not get in trouble.
I'd say Miss Duncan because she's such a queen and she knows like everything. And she travels every summer, which I think is so cool, and that's something that I want to do.
Miss Duncan, because she's a powerful woman and I'm a powerful woman.
Mr. Costner, because he had such a great way of teaching and made economics one of my favorite subjects. And so I loved the ability in class that he made us like sit in partners so we could definitely collaborate so much together. And he put people that had great strengths and weaknesses together that they balanced out, and it created a great learning environment.
Mr. Costner, because sometimes you can just tell that he doesn't want to be there, and I feel it.
Miss Richards, because she always tried to like make things as easy for us as possible, and like she totally understood what it was like to have like a ton of quizzes and tests and homework assignments in a week, and like she was always so gracious about all of that. Miss Richards.
Miss Leithhead, I aspire to be the same teacher who has like a never-ending support for her students.
Miss Morris, like she's just super fun, super bubbly. super upbeat.
Mr. Moscola. Because we're both great people.
Say it like you mean it this time.
No.
I meant about yourself.
Oh yeah, well. Can we end now? I've had enough.
What will you miss most about our IB family? The understanding we all shared that we had that common goal to succeed no matter what we did.
The thing that I'll miss most is having such close friends with me to support me, and I'm there to support them and complain about school with each other and just have those people around me no matter where I was, and I always had them when I needed them.
I would say being able to have a close-knit group of peers that is all on the same page. You know, we would walk in classes and be like, yo, how was the bio test today, guys? Gonna miss that for sure. It's kind of special that you have a group like that because it was big, but it was also small.
Those moments where we all forgot to do the same collective assignment and we just like sit and freak out together. Those are some solid moments.
I would definitely miss the ability to work together and the seriousness that you got when doing groups. I feel like anytime I had to do a group or group work, I never had a problem with anybody, and everybody was really serious and like kind of professional. You didn't have many people that didn't want to do their schoolwork.
Probably just all the memories and all the good times that we all share and just enjoying each other's company, grinding through work together.
I think I'll miss struggling together because I made so many great friends through this process, and I'll just miss seeing you guys every day.
I would probably miss the banter between the teachers and the students the most. Like, for example, when Aaliyah would like stand up and say something whack in the middle of bio, and Miss Cole would have to be like, okay, Aaliyah, sit down. Or like when it was history and Mr. Blackbird would have to roast Annie about worrying over her grades every second.
I'm really just gonna miss the daily routine, getting up, driving 30 minutes to school just so I can do IB, getting to school, Daisy walking in 40 minutes late because she had to get coffee, Ben complaining in first period about not being able to fly the plane because his mom said no. Just gonna miss like the bond that we had. We were always looking out for each other. We always, even if we weren't the closest of friends or we didn't know each other that well, we were always willing to help each other succeed.
And lastly, what I'm gonna miss most about our IB family is the boys. Yes, sir. Squad.
So, class of 2020, first question, what inspired me to become a teacher? You know, I've always loved working with people, love to read, love weekends, love summers, you know. So it's just been a great career. I think that's the important thing to take away from the question is, you know, pick something you love to do. So next question, favorite quote? That's a hard one. I think a really good one for our time right now is, you know, everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. That's John Lennon from the Beatles. So how do I hope students will remember me? Well, I've always tried to keep my classroom very positive, fun when we can, very open, accepting, tolerant, kind, and I hope my students would recognize and remember some of those same traits in me. So the next question is, if I were in high school right now, would I take IB? Honest answer, if I were at Spruce Creek with this principal, this administration, this faculty, and all of you, heck yeah, I'd do IB. So one final piece of advice for the class of 2020. Be yourself, be true to yourself. Kindness is powerful, absolutely powerful thing. Be kind, be patient. You're in a position to change the world for the better, so go get it.
So during my time in quarantine, I've been practicing my yoga flexibility. So as you can see, as I promised you guys this year, I'll be a lot more flexible in responding to your questions as we work our way through the year in the future, I guess in the future of my teaching career. So thank you to you guys for, you know, all of the great times, lots of wonderful memories with you. I think the best memory with this class for me is that, I gotta stop stretching here. Here's my son, he's joining us too. I think the best memory would have to be the fact that we had a few of you guys who won the Envirothon States 2 years in a row, and we headed on to the national competition at least last year, so that was pretty awesome. Maybe topping that out though, the most memorable event would be when Alejandro was taking his date to Rose Bay and got locked in there, and then had to call Miss Chapman herself to come and let him and his date out of Rose Bay. So I think that's pretty awesome. That's definitely what Miss Chapman would share with you guys as well. I did want to definitely take this opportunity to give a shout out to Kamari. The highlight of my day, I think, was 6th period each day when Kamari would walk down the hall or walk into my class and I would say, Kamari! So Kamari, hope you're well and enjoying this virtual banquet. Speaking of 6th period, this year, which was an absolute zoo and made me need to actually have the final 9 weeks to just sit in my office by myself and hang with that class virtually, I did want to thank Diego and Karina and Anna, along with Kamari, for being like my one point of stability in that class, which otherwise was completely insane.
Hola mis adorables y queridos estudiantes, hoy es el 10 de mayo, Día de las Madres, y voy a aprovechar y mandarles este video hoy. Who would you want to have a beer within 3 years? Yo diría 10 años, porque en 10 años ustedes tendrán mucha más perspectiva, vivirán, tendrán vivencias y experiencias que les dará la perspectiva de un adulto. Y me gustaría mejor tomarme una limonada o una kombucha en la playa con ustedes y ver cómo han crecido todos, no me importa quién, porque cada uno tenía algo muy especial, cada uno de ustedes fueron muy únicos y especiales para mí. Y finalmente quiero dejarles con un mensaje, uno de mis versos favoritos. Cuando yo era niño hablaba como niño, pensaba como niño, razonaba como niño. Cuando llegué a ser adulto dejé atrás las cosas de niño. Ahora vemos de manera indirecta y velada, como en un espejo. Pero entonces algún día veremos cara a cara. Ahora conozco de manera imperfecta, pero entonces conoceré tal y como soy conocido. Ahora pues, permanecen estas 3 virtudes, la fe, la esperanza y el amor. Pero lo más excelente de ellas es el amor. Los quiero mucho. Les deseo lo mejor en el futuro.
Hey guys, Miss Capiello here. Going to answer some of the questions that you guys have for your IB documentary. I first would also like to acknowledge how incredibly odd it is to do a selfie video for me. I've never done this before, so I apologize in advance for that. But let me answer your questions here. So question number 1, what college advice would you give us? I would tell you to enjoy the full college experience. Make sure that you're not trying to promote academics over some of the social and life experiences that you'll gain in college, because it's the last time before you join the workforce. So take advantage of all the fun things that college has to offer while you're getting a great education. Let's see, is being book smart the only way to succeed in life? And I would say for that, absolutely not. I think you have to have common sense. I hope that you have cultivated empathy and compassion and a caring nature for the world around you and your community. And I hope that that started with our program and that you'll carry on doing that as you move on in life. That's super important, more important than just books. One word to describe our class and why. The word I would use to describe your class would probably be extraordinary. I think that you guys have all had to persevere through some crazy things since the small amount of time that you've been in this world. So I would call you extraordinary. How does our class stand out from the past? You're the smallest IB class that I've ever worked with. think the largest class was like 211 graduates, and you guys are at like 114. And you're the only class that's driven Blackburn into retirement. You know, he had heart surgery, a stroke, nothing stopped him, but 2020 took him out. So that's another way to say that you've differed from others. I miss you guys. I hope you take care. I hope to see you soon. Be well.
Greetings. I just want to say, well, let me pause, assuming this is going to be played at the IB banquet, so I'll wait for the applause to end. No, really, that's enough. Thank you. Sit. Please sit. Please sit. Thank you. Okay, one last test. I know that you guys slipped away on me, so I had about 5 more weeks of getting you ready for the exam. So since we didn't have the exam, we'll have one here. Your final test will be to determine whether or not I'm being sarcastic. So let's ask some questions and you see if I'm being sarcastic or not.
If you had one person to take care of you when you're old, who would it be?
That's easy. John Khalil. John will most likely ignore me or forget about me, and I'll die quicker, and I think I'd like that.
Who would you want to have a beer with in 3 years?
That's easy as well. With someone I love, myself.
One word to describe our class.
Adequate.
How does our class stand out from the past?
I think that you should be congratulated on finally driving me out of education after 30 years.
Who do you think will be most successful?
Well, I would have said Grant, but with this whole pandemic and not being able to shake hands, in all honesty, I'm kind of worried about him.
Can you compare this generation to yours?
Okay, Boomer. I will say that your generation was misnamed. I think you should have been Generation N, abled. Get it?
Do you think someone you taught will change the world?
I've been trying to teach students to become a dictator for over 25 years, and not one has done it yet, but there's still hope.
What inspired you to become a teacher?
Mostly June and July.
What is your favorite quote?
My favorite quote is, I think it was, strength through discipline, strength through community, strength through action.
How do you hope your students will remember you?
Well, I think that it's been taken care of. We got a committee together to put a statue of me up at the facility there, the complex at Spruce Creek. The committee has sent it on to the county for approval. I think their final decision was, we aren't sure how big it's going to be. Of course, that's going to be determined by funds. But they decided that they would have me in a posture position, so I'd be thinking, and they wanted it placed out where the parking lot meets the school. So every morning, the students could not only see me, but they could high-five me. So I would be standing here. I think it's a brilliant idea on their part, and I don't see any problems really with it.
If you were in high school now, would you take IB?
No, because I don't really cheat that much.
One final piece of advice for the students.
Take care of your teeth and have a life.